Ready? So settle down. Don't settle down too much. Get riled up. Welcome once again to the 2010 Tabula Poetica Poetry Reading Series. This is a fantastic lineup we've had. I'm happy Lynne Thompson is here, and I hope you'll come out for our remaining events. We have Allison Joseph here on November 9th, and then we wrap up the whole series with a reading by our own MFA students on November 30th. If you want more details about the series or about Tabula Poetica, make sure you check our website. We also have a Facebook group, so if you're on Facebook, join the Tabula Poetica group there. Before we begin, I ask that you make sure your cell phone is turned off or silenced. Also, Barnes & Noble has books by all this year's Tabula Poetica visiting poets available for purchase right here at the reading. It's just outside down the hallway. And Shay will be happy to sell you not only Lynne Thompson's books, but any of the books by other poets in the series. I want to thank the English department for tremendous support of Tabula Poetica and Poets and Writers for grants to support each writer's visit. In particular, thank you to Patrick Fury for supporting the series through the English department, Logan Esdale, the literature professor who has been part of Tabula Poetica from the get-go. I think we have a little Esdale fan club up here. Saw some cheering there. And Jennifer Klunk and Lacey Briley are amazing administrative assistants in the English department. We're also grateful to Charlene Baldwin and Leatherby Libraries for hosting all the readings in the Henley Room here and for building the university's poetry book collection. If you have some time this evening, there's also a fantastic art exhibit, not only along this wall in the Henley Room, but if you turn the corner in the space by the elevators and down the hall there. In addition, next Monday, October 18th, mark your calendars. Monday at 5:30, there's going to be a student book collecting contest announcement and reception here in the library. It'll be in the Malloy Performance Portico, and refreshments will be served, and I encourage you all to attend that to find out more about the launch of the library's student book collecting contest. This evening, we have a dean and vice chancellor to introduce Lynne Thompson. Jerry Price and I both began working at Chapman University in 2008. First and foremost, Dean Price is an English major and a member of Sigma Tau Delta. He also, I hear, has a new book out that we all need to run out and purchase. It's on serving the undocumented student. His office helps send several of our own students to present at conferences. I especially like his attitude, which is captured in his website message to students. He says, "Remember, college is like any other investment. If you invest too conservatively, you limit what you get back from it. On the other hand, if you invest everything you have everything to gain." And I think he embodies that attitude as he walks across campus and talks with all of us. I also want to take this opportunity to note how important the Dean of Students can be to the life of the university and to individual students. My own Dean of Students as an undergraduate at Knox College was Steve Bailey, who retired recently after 45 years as a history professor, 23 of which he served as dean. His door was always open for the student facing unexpected circumstances. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And he once told my sister that she did the very best revision of any student, which she later realized meant that her first draft was not very good. Perhaps Jerry Price and I will be here a couple of decades from now, welcoming back some of our own alums as visiting poets. I know that he is making a difference at Chapman right now. Please help me welcome Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Jerry Price.
Thanks very much, Dr. Leahy. And I am a very proud English major, and I always make it a point to talk to students promoting the liberal arts in general and English majors in particular. And I was fortunate when I became Dean of Students, the provost to whom I reported was also an English professor. And we had a great deal of bonding over how we apply what we learned in our English education, literature education, and how we applied it to our work as administrators. But enough about that. Here, it's my pleasure to introduce today's special guest. Lynne Thompson was born and raised here in the Los Angeles area by parents who are native to the Windward Islands, West Indies. She received her BA from Scripps College, also not far from here, and a JD from Southwestern University School of Law, which also is not far from here. I had to look that one up, though. Southwest is a big area. I wasn't sure where Southwestern. After publishing 2 chapbooks, we arrived by accumulation, and through a window, her first full-length manuscript, Beg No Pardon, won the 2007 Perugia Press First Book Award, as well as the 2008 Great Lakes College's New Writers Award. In 2009 and 2010, she was commissioned to collaborate in works at Emory University and Scripps College. Ms. Thompson is a 3-time Pushcart Prize nominee, and her poetry has appeared or is forthcoming in a variety of publications, including Indiana Review, Crab Orchard Review, Margie, Plowshares, Southwesterner, and numerous other online e-zines. She is a lawyer by training and is currently the Director of Employee and Labor Relations at UCLA. When I said currently, I didn't mean imply that's changing. So, but anyway, we are very delighted to have her with us at Chapman today. Please join me in welcoming Lynne Thompson.
Well, thank you all for coming. It's really a treat to be here this afternoon. I came to your last season's readings to hear Kate Greenstreet and was sitting back in the back, and I thought, I'd like to read there, and voila, here I am. So I'm going to read several poems from Beg No Pardon, and then I'm going to read some newer work from a new manuscript, as yet unpublished, but seeking a home. This first poem, all you really need to know is that the Malagasy are the indigenous people of the island of Madagascar. I'm able to trace my roots there, so once I found that out, of course, I had to write about it. I ask the Malagasy, where are my ancestors buried? In the feathers of a yellow bird. How do you remember me? As 7 wishes. Where will I find the shape changer's magic? In fields of hydrangea. Who teaches your Tantara, a fox behind closed doors? Where are your elephant birds? In ruby and absinthe afternoons. And where is the sawfish beak? In the dayshine of trees. How deep is your river Betsaboka? 12 earthquakes deep. What time did your soil turn red? When calves bent their knees. A lot of what Beg No Pardon is about is an effort on my part to reconcile my adopted history with my natural birth history, and this poem speaks to that. And this is for you. She, named P at birth, speaks to me, says, you think you know who you are. You do not. You think everything's great in your gravy train life, feet up on the tabaret, sipping fingers of Pernod and blowing smoky O's of Gauloise like you were born to it. You were not. You were born at County Gin, the random upshot of a collision between an urgent virgin, a married man, and the back seat of a Studebaker, though everyone knows there was no joy the night you got made. You came into this world on cotton rough from 10,000 washings. The doc showed up late, then spilled a little Maxwell House on the sheets. The nurses yawned. Mama cried for you for 16 hours before her water broke, and she's been in labor for you all her life. But no one came. No one came to see, so in time, Mama just gave you away. Of course, you don't remember that, just like you don't remember me. Me, who never got the pretty dresses, never got the vacations at the beach, never sat down with the family to eat lamb and mint jelly on a sunny Easter day. No, you don't remember me. It's as though you were born to the manor, born to speak lousy French and to read Edwardian novels in a hothouse, to gad about at high-toned schools, to raise your finger just so the ruby shines. But you don't know who you really are, Miss Don't Remind Me, Miss Given Away 4 times before you were taken for good. Well, you got my blood in your veins, and you ain't no fancy dancer. You ain't no pearls and piety. You ain't no seashell by the seashore, and you sure ain't no evening out at Lincoln Center. You got me in your veins, got my chipped white fence, my regular job, and my $39 a night room in Vegas, and this name that ain't gonna be at the end of any poem. But don't worry, my sister, my slip of a pen. I'll never let you forget. The night you were born, my name was all you had. And this one also is a blending, really, of the 2 sides of my history. Seed of mango, seed of maize. I saw one of the grandmothers only once in a photograph. Short and sturdy she was, a black Carib with a forehead wide as the sea that kisses Port Elizabeth and a nose broad as the nostrum of Admiralty Bay. Breathing deeply, her breath was fume of coconut and allspice, mango and frangipani, blackbird and blue sky was the Isle of Bequia. She conjured a daughter, then jinxed another, and they bedeviled 5 daughters between them, and I am one of those, flying fish. The other grandmother I composed from myth and half-told stories. She was a red Cheyenne, scorched earth, much chased, sported a thick reed of braid pulled off from her forehead, wide as Dakota, before it was north and south. She hisses warnings across 10, then 10 times 10 more years, to a son who reshapes them for me in my dreams, sometimes in my waking. As flute, blue maize, dance of the sun she comes, crow on the wing, singing up the ghosts, and I am one of those, a ghost, singing. I don't know if my dad would appreciate this, but it's true. Daddy Toolkit. His favorite child was the garage, where he dissolved into nail, screw, nut, and bolt, where he became the personalities of a wrench, combination, adjustable, chain. On Saturdays, he reigned in his kingdom, master of sledgehammers and mallets. He ruled there as a hex nut driver, push drill. When Mom called him to supper, he'd turn winch, vice, ripping bar. When I begged him to stay, he'd whisper in my ear, "A plane is a tool used to smooth the surface of wood, and an adze is used for chipping and slicing. Most importantly of all, steelyards use balances and counterbalances." I loved knowing he'd always be my ladder jack. I loved learning everything I would ever need to know about men. And this one also true. Back seat. Long before I learned life repeats like an unchecked burp, I was a schoolgirl sitting in the last seat of a yellow bus, facing backward like I'd been told more than 100 times not to do. It was raining in that all-at-sea way it used to rain in Southern California before there were so many cars, but even then, there were too many. And the street was Adams, or Pico, or some other familiar street, although here the familiar is always being knocked down to make way for the unfamiliar. One day, there was a blue and white car with sharky fins and Cheerio tires following very close to the bus, and every time the bus stopped, those blue and white fins stopped too and just missed us by inches, and I thought, that car sure wants to hit us, as though a Chevy has a will of its own. Until it did, and I went flying. Peanuts, lunch pail, satchel, and all my golden pencils spilled like pickup sticks, and my bottom lip split on the silver grab-on rail like a spoiled banana. And it's been that way ever since. Collisions, broken bodies, and nothing to be done. So don't look out the back window. This one isn't true, but it's fun. Short stack with switch monkey. And the switch monkey, you might know, is the guy that used to be on the back of the train with the light as they would come around the bend with the lantern. Short stack with switch monkey. I'm a free wheel. Got no one telling me the can or can't do. So when this jeans too tight to breathe strolled into Ms. Willie's grill, I liked the cut of his kerchief right off. Knew he knew things I wouldn't know in a lifetime. How to bail it in, strut in company jewelry, and play the glory hunter. That's why I wanted him. Him straddled out at counter's end, nursing a cup of joe hotter than Yuma's breath, looking neither left nor right, just talking to Ms. Willie, who didn't look left nor right, nor give a damn about anything he said, but I did. So I sidled up to the counter, took the stool 2 stools away, and bought another cup while I listened to him blow smoke. Listened to his world of slow train, hot shot, piggyback. Heard how he'd catch out ahead of the bull, drug runners and ramblers with romance on their minds, trying to follow him out past San Bernardino, all the way to Baxter Springs. Listened long enough to know he'd never tie on to a can or can't do or to me. Finished my cup of mud and lit out. Full on a cheap pie card, a rail fan looking for a local load, all smiles from a stack of short love. Could have been true. I'm going to try a little experiment with you all. There's one poem in the book that appears as it appears. It's not the way that it was originally written. I'm going to read you both versions, and you can tell me afterwards which was better. Elegy for the Red Dress. Good morning, red dress. Double strand of pearls, faded rose perfume clinging to the bodice, the slip, the silk of the sleeve. Still molten to my hips, my breasts, the drum of my heart. Hem softly pleated to a permanent party. Hello and hey there, red dress, heavy with the sweat of love wants to dance, scented with hopes of shy man, bold man, beg to take you home man, still crumply down the back from the hanker in their hands. So that's in the book. This is the original. Elegy for the Red Dress. Good morning, red dress, heavy with the sweat of love wants to dance, scented with the hopes of shy man, bold man, beg to take you home man, still crinkly down the back with the hanker in their hands. Good morning, red dress. Morning, chase me, take me shoes. Look like you've been out on the town, like you've been dipped and twirled, dizzied and duked all night long, like you can't hang between sweatsuits and jeans, like you're another kind of gal. Hello and hey there, red dress, double strand of pearls, faded rose perfume, still clinging to the bodice, the slip, the silk of the sleeve, still molten to my hips, my breasts, to the drum of my heart, hem softly pleated to a permanent party. Where have you been, red dress, and why? Why have you gone without me? A and B, right? Oh, I need water before I read this. Music is a really important part of my poetry, and this piece was inspired by the blues guitarist Robert Johnson. Maybe some of you know who that is. Legend says that he sold his soul to the devil in order to learn to play a mean guitar. And I really wanted to write about him badly. This poem has an epigraph by the poet Quincy Troupe. You begin with a sound wrapped around a syllable. Highway 61 Blues. Won't you take me, Bobby J? Won't you take me up the trail out of New Orleans, past Natchez, past Vicksburg, all the way to Rolling Fork? You and me gonna beat the boll weevil. Gonna beat the bent back heat all the way to Duncan, all the way to New Africa, been on my mind. I'm looking for a blue devil to set me free from floodplains, from Yazoo, from Tallahatchie, fly free me all the way to Greenville, Tutwiler, all the way to Clarksdale, where my guitar just got a moan, preaching blue all the way, all the way, all the way. And I'm hollering loud, I've been buked and scorned, Willie Brown. I've been beat down, Howling Wolf. Hey, Kid Bailey, got any scratch? Can you get me to Shelby, where blues ain't dead? So said some pretty one-eyed gal who gave me 2 6-stringers and a hard drum. Said, pace yourself. Pace yourself. And yeah, Mr. Jimmy Cotton soothed me sure with some sweet, sweet devil music to keep me moving out of sullen heat and deep blue and Jim Crow and sharecrop. No mo dry throat, no mo hot whip, no mammy soul to don't know where, no white man's cotton, but no 40 acres and no goddamn mule. Yeah, so take me, Bobby J, all the way to Memphis, out west to Houston, up east to Cincinnati, up north to Chi-Town, away from the won't you please stop breaking down blues. So that's my tribute to Mr. Johnson. And I think I was kind of having a similar thing with music when I wrote this as well. Can you all hear me okay? Is it fine? The unworshipped woman. Nothing beat her, break her down, or reek so the way she do. Nothing got her unzipped mind, her fly paper memory. She a riverbed, will be, for a dog's millennium. She gone lost to her unborns. She pale smoke, shadow in the distance. She a train whistler's whistle, this unworshipped, this woman. She come like salt lick. She go down like a drowning man hollering for one last. Her story hung like seaweed. She come in, she go out, like unworshipped women supposed to. Knees bloody, knuckles got somebody's jawbone jammed on. Hair coiled with September twatterlight, corkscrewed so tight even owls won't hoot, until she pass by them, longing on long legs, lips the color of peril. Bittersweet, folded round a hollow in her twisted back. But her one good eye, it flash. So I was depressed, and then I wasn't so depressed. That's how it goes. This is for my parents, and it's based on a photograph that I found of them. I didn't recognize the photograph and asked my mom, well, who are these people? And she said, oh, that's me and your father. They looked like criminals. Song for Two Immigrants. I thought I knew you. To me, you were the Grenadines, the Anglican Church, and a cricket match every Sunday, and every Sunday you were Fort Charlotte, the Vincy Mass, and blue tide pools. You were Arawaks, sailing into Kingstown Harbor. You were English and French patois, rainforests, regatta, and a Congo snake, whelk, roti, lobster, and rum. Yet here you are in a yellowing photograph in the Mojave or Death Valley, CA, looking like deserters from an American war. Her every bit the boy, hair slicked, leather jacket cinched at her throat, her tiny foot on the running board of a black 37 Ford coupe, and you, looking nothing less than the black Clyde Barrow, flicking the butt of your Lucky Strike, checking out your boys at play in the dirt, wearing short pants and high tops, everyone looking for all the world as if the Caribbean was a dream, a far yesterday away. And it was, and it's clear. I did not know you. I mean, really, they look like criminals, really, truly, they look like criminals. I'm going to skip this. And I'm going to read the last poem in Beg No Pardon, and then I'm going to read some newer work. This is the poem that gives the book its title, and it was written when I was hanging out with some women at a workshop, some young women, and I was listening to their conversation and realized I didn't understand anything that they were talking about, and that was because they were young women. And so I wrote this to console myself. A sorceress strolls new grass. I am neither mother nor turquoise neckwear, but you are such young women, such new potatoes, and there is much for me to tell you. That bishops joyride in the dead of night, that blue's favorite color is blue and earth is just a gaudy paragraph. And though I am ripe as November, I can tell you, no sorceress ever abandons midday, and a sculptor is always better in a waterbed. Of course, I'm vainglorious with my knowing and croaking, because you women are writing your own book of migration, and without warning, I feel useless as an empty valise. What you know makes the bandicoot fly, and you converse in flamingo and seashell, smell like smoke and rapscallions. You are tambourines in the stewing pot, a crucible of symbols. Being fresh as new grass, you inspire me to astonish, then gloat, to beg no pardon, then begin. So that gives you a little bit of a feel for the book. And I wanted to share some newer poems that are in a new manuscript, tentatively titled Metronome Lately, Adagio. But as I told some people earlier, you send it in, they change the title, so what can I tell you? I don't know. Delusion and urban romance. We live in a city ringed with false teeth. We do not know we are living. We are dreaming, forgetting dreams have meaning conjoined to tinsel and modern catastrophes. We live by a sea the color of guilt and broken jade. Sea is losing its life of whales, although we hear them singing their lament, a slaughter of notes we cannot name. We refuse to live anywhere else, anywhere we might learn how to live, as though miracles are misbegotten, as though the only tradition is to err, congratulations in short supply. We live on memory and bib lettuce. Less than lively, we pretend a life, and when life falls from sequence to driftwood, we move on, we legends of ruin. The Mollusk Museum. 1. Family. Is and is not a velveteen pillow. Theater. A dinner hour mistake with candied yams on the side. A box at the bottom of. Flightless penguins hitchhiking through town. Footprints in a cemetery. 2. Cemetery. 2 moon pies per gypsy. Greedy art and dirigible need. Rushes and reeds. Tracing paper on papyrus. The solo, the ensemble. Wood ticks, wax moths. Hand drum, thrumming the hand. A river, a poplar, the same old questions. 3. War. I come to struggle, to eat the edges of, to abrade the chemical and the all-chemical in the falling night, always a souvenir wrapped in a rigmarole. Vivaldi versus JayZ. I'm wrapped in biblical passages, but never in any book of Revelations or Koran or Green Hornet. All is taboo. Every day's like any other habit. A telegram never opened. I bet you won't find Vivaldi and JayZ in any other single paragraph. I thought that was a lot of fun. Voice. Say, woman, you will slide through a transom. Say, want, or yellow, or terror. No one hears. Or say nothing. That says it. Say yes, and then try to stop saying it. If you can't, say no and poor. How poor. Say never, but that's not quite it. Say always, and hundreds of children will laugh and say, Simon says, and all of it will sound foreign if you have forgotten how. Say success, then ask, what was the question? Say history, claim, say wild. This next poem was from an assignment. Again, didn't do the assignment. We were given a title, and I changed it around. This is not the original title, but I like this better. While she was out stealing, I slept in my mother's womb. But it was dark, and I did not go far. She smelled the way the Taj Mahal looks by moonlight. The minutes went by on tiptoe, with their fingers to their lips. Then her hands dropped and jerked at something, and the robe she was wearing came open. But it was dark, and I did not go far. She was thinking, and I saw, even on this short acquaintance, thinking was always going to be a bother to her. The minutes went by on tiptoe, with their fingers to their lips. From 30 feet away, she looked like a lot of class, a vamp who'd make bishops kick holes in stained glass windows. But it was dark, and I could not go far. I needed a drink. I needed some life insurance and a vacation. I needed a home in the country. The minutes went by on tiptoe, with their fingers to their lips. She gave me a smile I felt in my hip pocket. a smile that made me her partner in crime. But it was dark, and I did not go far. The minutes went by on tiptoe, with their fingers to their lips. Patina. The wife doesn't sleep with him anymore, although he wavers, like late candlelight, chest a rattling fer-de-lance as he calls, "Dora, Dora, Dora." 74 years old, and still he dreams about his mother all the long night long. The wife's content on a sofa more restful than any bed she's ever shared. She loves the cool, let's pretend they're queen-sized sheets. The way moonglow slants its patina at 1:42 a.m. Loves how, finally, she is alone. Their Shih Tzu barks his dreams of bones because he's used to their arrangement. Their spinster daughter, who has returned home again, understands less than a little. Too soon dawn comes and the wife attends to modest duties. Her husband's breathing apparatus in need of its regular click. The dog scratching to be let out, sniffing after an old bloodhound who will never sniff after him, both piddling on the neighbor's shrub of rosemary. Their ridiculous daughter sent off to a career not nearly as hard as all this. And this was the poem that I mentioned to some of you that I wrote using a line from Louise Erdrich's A Plague of Doves. And that line was, "And besides, there was a woman." He knew that. Knew it the same way he knew, no matter how hard he tried to define himself as spark plug or whiskey neat, she would come back in the late night, as she always did lately, to prove herself more than otherworldly, to prove that whether he tossed "you can't hold me" or cow patties in her path, she would grind all of it into the mute earth that had birthed him. Knowing didn't make it any better, didn't stop the veins in his body from madly twisting the way 100 spiders might twist upon themselves in a mirrored, haunted house. He knew about haunted, about the axis in constant rotation, the inconvenience. No matter how hard he tried, the vision of her mouth and aspect remained, her mourning and her survival. Her mourning and her survival. The vision of her mouth and aspect remained, no matter how hard she tried. Despite the inconvenience, the axis in constant rotation, she knew about haunted, as in mirrored haunted houses, twisting upon themselves, madly twisting the way 100 spiders might. The veins in her body knowing didn't make it any better. Into the mute earth that had birthed her, she ground all of it, put "you can't hold me" and cow patties in the path wherever he tossed himself, to prove herself more than otherworldly, always and lately, in the late night, when she would come back to define him as spark plug and whiskey neat, no matter how hard he tried. It was that way. She knew that. And I'm reading this one because I've seen several of you with the texting apparatus, and I'm trying to get with the 21st century, so I wrote this. The new eroticism. Because the 21st century has ditched that old school road to romance, you have found a new way to seduce me. Rather than stroke the honey spot where my neck succumbs to a shoulder that could wonder you, you stroke keys on some small black widget held in your palm until your want of me glows green on the screen, takes several minutes to reach me with its shy gong tune, and then, with no one near me knowing why, causes my cheeks to redden. Gone the parchment papers with love sop writ in peacock blue. Gone the 2 a.m. whispers under cover of an inexhaustible dark, only a telephone wire between us. And because the time is now, and we can never go back, and because I want you to inhale deeply, deeply, then whistle, I press fingers to my own widget's keys. Enter, enter, enter. I guess this is the new way of love. I don't get it, but whatever. 2 more. Am I good on time? Okay. This poem has an epigraph. Some of us talked about that a little bit today. I like them, frankly. And when I read this from a Robert Wrigley poem, Slow Dreams, I said, I am so stealing this line. The very continental drift of a single kiss beginning to end. Little song of alcove. Velocity of a child's laugh. Bantam weight of a leaf. Just as the poem describes. Yes, yes, it was like that. All about us, those we duped. No one saw because our shadows were just mere dazzle across the landscape, and spells and delight last only so long, and then the violence of remembering takes hold. Chisel of can't keep, his mouth new on mine, both of us unexceptional fools. And this is tentatively the last poem in the new manuscript and the poem that gives the manuscript its title. Metronome, Lately Adagio. From Amen to Amen, there is no grace. Deadlines are illusory as contrails of snow geese. Yet there could be, might be, but for this muddied air, dressed in its persona, dread. Under clay, our faltering resolve. In the wind, a gash of white noise. Unimaginable then, this, yes, this desire for radiance, for one more chrysanthemum, its petals profligate, attar of some mythic garden, chaste stroke of stiff stem, when, in the end, our eyes opened, throats hoarse, disconsolate at the last babble of geese overhead, it is unalterable. Winter, despoiling the bloom. Thank you.
Thank you to Lynne Thompson. We have a couple of minutes for a couple of questions, if you have some questions. I know my students have some questions.
Yes.
I know you used as inspiration a line from Louis Erdrich.
Right.
I know there's a lot of writers who don't.
But the relationship of reading to writing, especially while you're writing.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, I read a lot while I'm writing. I do get a lot of inspiration from it. I don't know if it's common, and I don't care. Any other questions?
How did you decide to use the poem Red Dress that is in the book as opposed to the original version?
So the question is, how did I decide to use the red dress in the book as opposed to the original version? Basically, I was a coward. This was my first book. I felt not pressured, well, a little pressured, but the editor really thought that the poem said all it needed to say in the version that she liked. And I had fought her about a lot of other things and just gave in on that, but I'm pretty sure she's wrong. What do you think? The original version, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I blew it with that. But that was a learning tool for me, that, you know, you really should fight for what you know is the right thing. A friend of mine who's a poet has consoled me by saying, but Lynn, they're just two different poems, that's all. You know. No, they're not two different poems, it's the same poem, and I blew it, right? Okay, so it happens. Anything else? Yes?
What subject do you find yourself writing most often on?
The question is, what subject do I find myself writing most often on? The new book, I'm telling people it's, well, actually, I've kind of changed, but it's, you know, the usual suspects: love, death, no love, a little bit of nature thrown in. But I think the book is really about time. And that's how I ended up calling it Metronome, which, you know, is that little thing you put on the piano, instrument you put on the piano. Because I think the book is really about time, not having enough time, wasting time, not knowing what to do with the time you have, time being fast, time being slow. I've really, as I've read it over and over, I think it's really more about time than anything else. I did not set out to do that. But as I read the poems as a whole, I realized time was kind of the issue in all of them. So, or in many of them, maybe not all of them, but many of them. But other than that, I'll write about anything, you know. If I like it, I'll just start scribbling something down.
Why don't we finish up with your advice to people, students who want to be poets?
Oh, now that's pressure. My advice to people that want to be poets: read all the poetry you can possibly read. Go to as many poetry readings as you can go to, and support poetry.
That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say.
She did not feed that to me, so.
Thank you all for being here. I think the refreshments are here, so help yourself to refreshments, browse the books. If you have a book that you'd like Lynne Thompson to sign, she'll be right up here if you want to chat with her. We'll hang around for a few minutes. Thank you very much, Lynne.